Discover how a personal health crisis led her to become a naturopath doctor, nutritionist, and dream builder. From Lyme's disease to bodybuilding, Dr. Becka Swanson shares her journey, philosophies, and the importance of gut health. Yes, we're talking poop like a champion here on this episode of the Twin City Dales podcast.
From working in his family's Chinese restaurant to bartending to becoming present-day owner of Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric, my father's true superpower is human connection. Now, he's on a mission to capture the most fascinating stories that make up the Minnesota community. You're listening to the Twin City Tales podcast.
Today, we have Dr. Becka Swanson, alternative natural healing practitioner with over 25 years in wellness industry and extensive experience in biofeedback analysis. She's a naturopath doctor, holistic nutritionist with deep understanding of gut health. Most of all, what I think is the awesome thing that she has on her bio is she's a dream builder. Thank you for coming on the show and welcome. So, Dr. Becka, you and I met at a business group meeting in Circle Pines. You told me the story of your Lyme's disease and your challenges with it and brought it all together into a passion in what you're doing today. And you know what I really love about you, Becka, is I can talk crap with you all day and you don't get offended because it's your business. You shared your story with the Chamber Group a few months ago, and the positivity you brought to it was so infectious. Can you share your story again with the people listening on the podcast?
I would love to. Thank you for having me on the show. I do like to talk crap. You know, you have to poop like a champion. That's been my tagline, and I'm sticking with it.
Nice.
Because if you're not pooping correctly, then you're accumulating those toxins in the body, and all sorts of things can happen. So poop like a champion. So yeah, a little bit about my story. My daughter's 23. So 24 years ago, I was actually bit by a deer tick right behind my knee. And I thought it was a spider bite because I react really bad to spider bites. And it swelled up and I had that little bullseye ring, but I didn't think anything of it. And it was fine. It itched. I went on with my life. I kept on camping, everything. About 3 months later, I couldn't even get out of bed. Like my muscles, my joints hurt. I was feverish, and I'm an active person. So being stubborn as I am, I'm like, I'm not going into the doctor. My body will heal itself. Like that's what our body's designed to do, is heal itself. So I left it alone, and I suffered for 3 months of just really achy and couldn't move my body. And then finally, I'm very fortunate because I was one who had the bullseye for the Lyme's, and it creeped up from the back of my knee to my legs, my stomach, my arms, my chest, and then it went to my face. And I'm like, that's it, my moneymaker.
So it literally like marks.
Yeah, I look like a leper. Like I went into the doctor, they looked at me and they're like, you have Lyme's, let's get you treated. So they gave me some medication and I thought I was better. But looking back, all the symptoms that I had for over 20 years were Lyme's related and nutrition related. But back in my 20s, I ate like crap. Like every 20-year-old and 30-year-old out there, you're like invincible. I can eat whatever I want. It's not going to affect me. So that's how I started studying nutrition on my own. And I was working at the hospital shortly after I was getting into nursing. I was going to go into nursing school. And I was forced to get a vaccine because otherwise I would lose my job if I didn't get this vaccine. And I was vax injured. I felt like I had a heart attack, like someone was reaching into my chest and just squeezing my heart. And I'm like, this is not normal. So finally, after seeing probably 5-6 doctors, they're like, oh, it's a coincidence. It's the flu. You know, I went to my chiropractor, and my chiropractor took one look in my tongue. He's like, open up your tongue, your mouth. Let me look at your tongue. And he goes, oh my gosh, you have allergic reaction. What, you get a vaccine? And I'm like, yeah. How'd you know? And so that was the aha moment that I'm like, there's something to it. Our body's always sending us signals to, telling us what's wrong. And so I started studying nutrition. And then I went back to school to become a holistic nutritionist and natural medicine practitioner. And during that time, I stopped the nursing program, finished my exercise science because I was big into, fitness, and I was a personal trainer. I was an elite triathlete, and really started knowing how to heal the body with food. And then after that, I got into bodybuilding and then naturopathy, really getting into more the holistic realm and helping people naturally and allowing their body to heal themselves with the correct materials. So that's how I got into become a naturopath.
Wow, that's pretty wild. And through all that, like because if I understand Lyme's disease, like it's not something that just like goes away. Like you still live with it to a certain extent.
Yeah, from my understanding, you always will test positive for Lyme's.
But you don't get the symptoms like you once had, especially going away from some of the medicines that,
right,
like the chemicalized medicines.
Correct. I only took medicine at the very beginning, and I thought that, healed me from it because I didn't have the severe aches and pains, but I suffered from body aches for 20 plus years. I suffered from brain fog. I still sometimes do, depending on my diet. And I really dove into like biohacking, biofeedback and energy. And that's why, I created Rooted Energetics, is working with the energies of the body and learning down on the cellular level how to heal the body, because we're only as healthy as our individual cells. And so that's when I really started diving in and studying on that. It was just such mind blowing. I'm like, this is a missing link. Like, why aren't they teaching us this anywhere in media and the doctors? They're just giving us a pill to mask the symptom, which in reality, a symptom is a healing process that I've learned throughout the years. It's our bodies signaling us that, hey, I'm healing from something.
And it makes sense with the natural medicines when you can take natural medicines more so than, and if it's been proven. I mean, as you can tell, I'm predominantly Chinese, and the Chinese medicines have been around for years and years. My mom swore by it, and she would just go to one of the shops in Chinatown or a local like herbal doctor and say, hey, these are our symptoms, or these are my kids' symptoms. And they would do a root medicine and she would drink it. I don't think you can get rid of like Western medicines completely. I think there's things that have saved lives because of that. But I also believe that you're right. There's something to with natural healing that we do need to take more advantage of and look at that in a more serious light, right?
Right. And I totally agree with you. Western medicine can save a life, but we shouldn't be dependent on it for the rest of our life. There's always an underlining and natural alternative for if you need a Western medicine at that time to save, but never a long term. You shouldn't be dependent on it. We're not deficient in Tylenol.
No, right.
We're deficient in magnesium. So, there's a reason why if we keep on getting headaches or muscle cramps in our body, we're not deficient in whatever medication.
I see that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like I said, I feel like the Asian Asian medicine, the Chinese medicines, herbs,
it's the original.
Yes, and they've been doing it for years. And there's a reason why they don't just get rid of it completely, because I know in China they have people, the good doctors there and druggists and pharmacists, but they are very limited to that type of what's the word I'm looking for? Fixings, remedies. Yeah. So I feel like there's definitely something to that.
Yeah.
And obviously with medical costs, and I don't want to make this political podcast, but yeah, medical costs is high. And again, I'm not condoning like, well, don't take any vaccinations, stop doing what the doctor tells you to do. No, what I'm saying is maybe finding different alternatives sometimes and seeing if that helps. Not saying go back to leeches and put those on bleeding, but yeah. So that's pretty incredible. Now, I know that before that, and you were saying like 30, you ate like crap and you didn't really, and so this really affected your life, and that's why you have this passion for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about, like, you were younger, and I know this is kind of cool, was like you were like 10 before you moved here from Israel, or moved down to Alabama, I believe?
Yeah. So I was born in Alabama, and then that's where my parents met. Then had my brother and I, we came back to Minnesota, went out from 2 to 4. And then from 4 to 10, I lived in Israel. And my dad had an infatuation with Israel and the people he wanted to learn about. He's like, well, let's just pack our bags and bring the family, and lived there for 6 months. And we ended up staying 6.5 years in Israel. And that was my first reading and writing language. So I always have these Becka-isms, and I just say because English is my second language. But but yeah, so I grew up in Israel, and I look at the world through a different lens because my younger years wasn't here in the United States. So I experienced different cultures. And then from 10 on, I've been here in the United States.
But yeah, but like from like 5 to 10 years old, from what I understand, that's like the most influential time of your life. It kind of shapes who you are as a person,
right,
somewhat, because that's like in that time frame, you're trying to find your identity, you're trying to find your place in life, right? And you're pushing boundaries, as we all know. Our kids did that at that age, a high level, right? And so you're really trying to find who you really are, and I think it culminates to your positivity and your upbeat, infectious personality, because you truly do have that. Do you feel like living in Israel, being different, do you feel like it made that big difference of who you are today?
It did, because I was the outsider. And when I was young, I was blonde. I was blonde. And then my hair got darker as I got older, but I stood out from all the other people. We're in the Middle East, Israel's the Middle East. So I stood out like a sore thumb with all my peers. So really trying to fit in and trying to find my way in life. Like, who am I? You kind of learn that at a young age. And so it shapes who you are and how you interact with people. And you really learn different skills at a young age to cope and try to fit in and be more personable, maybe be more funny, or, more outgoing, or whatever, that you develop your personality based on, your circumstances.
I feel like you and I have that thing in common, because growing up in Israel, and for me, growing up in, I hate to say it, in Golden Valley, it was very predominantly white in Minnesota back then. And being the only Asian kid basically in that area, when we play Cowboys and Indians, and it is really about the look sometimes, right? And you play Cowboys and Indians, like, Wyman, we're all going to be Cowboys, you get to be the Indian, right? And so it's one of those things where you start learning to, like, I'm not one of them, I'm one of you guys, at that young age, because I think we all just want, at the end of the day, just be loved, heard, and accepted. And I think that's where that influences us becoming on who we are today, right? And I think that carries into how we run our business, how we make decisions in our business, in life, and in everything else.
Absolutely. But I feel like it's also when we get older, now that we have our own businesses, we want to stand out from everyone else, to be the different person. So I guess it gives us a little bit of an advantage now that we're older and not younger, that we want to be fit in with all of our peers. Now, as business owners, we want to stand out from everyone else. and not be like everyone else. So we can, like I offer something different.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Because you're setting yourself apart, but learning those little experiences, how to assimilate with everybody else and how to fit in. And then on top of that, how do you separate yourself and be a difference, right? Making a difference. How do people feel the difference in your product or what you do? That's huge. That really is.
Right.
You know what? We're going to take a break for a few seconds, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more.
Okay.
A fantastic conversation. Thank you, Becka.
Thank you.
Tired of lugging heavy bags of water softener salt from the store? Twin Sea Heating, Air, and Electric now delivers premium water softener salt right to your home in returnable, reusable 20-pound containers to go green and light it up to save you from injury. Serving the north suburbs, we're your neighbors who know how hard our water is. No more running out of salt and dealing with spotty dishes and stiff laundry. Quality salt, reliable delivery, local service you can trust. Because at Twin Sea Heating, Air, and Electric, we don't just keep your home comfortable, we keep your water soft and your life easy. Twin Sea Heating, Air, and Electric, now with water softener salt delivery. Call today or visit us online. And we are back. So one of the part of our podcast is I always see if I can find a picture of you from the past and something that you might be surprised at, but I think this is the one that I think these are on your page. So I'm going to start with this one. And for our listeners, this is a picture of Becka, Dr. Becka. She has an incredibly muscular tan and oiled physique in this picture. What looks like a bodybuilding competition. I'll tell you right now, I would be so intimidated to even attempt to ask you out if I was single, seeing you in that picture. You look so badass in both those pictures. I'd be just like, oh my gosh, she will kick my keister. Tell us a little more about how you got into that part of your life.
The bathroom's over there.
I love that.
Where's the bathroom over there?
That's fantastic.
Okay, so I grew up, when I was younger, I was a gymnast. So I feel like I was well conditioned as a young child and building lean muscle mass from my gymnastics years. And then I was in triathlons. And every time that I was in the gym, lifting weights or running on the treadmill, people are like, are you training for a show? And I'm like, no, I'm training for life, so that was always my answer. I'm training for life. And then I'm like, wait a second, maybe I should do a bodybuilding show. And so my husband didn't want me to do a bodybuilding show. And I'm pretty modest. I almost didn't step on stage. I was scared so much. I was sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in a little bikini. I have to step on stage and everyone's staring at me with these big lights. And, but I trained so hard for so many months. And some people train for years and years. And I was training for years, but specifically for the bodybuilding, the diet was so extreme. And I'm so glad I did it because it was one of my bucket lists, later on, because I'm like, you know what, I can do this. And whenever I get an idea in my mind that I want to do, I will go 100% and do whatever I need to take or not take. I'm not like on steroid. I did all natural. I'm an all natural bodybuilder, but I'll do whatever it takes to get there to reach my goal. And my diet was so strict for 3 years. And I actually placed really good my very first show. I think I got second. And so I decided to train more to see if I can win. Same with my triathlon. When I first did a triathlon, I came in 6th, overall. And I'm like, oh, maybe, I can come in. I'm so competitive.
Yeah.
I can come in higher in my age group. So with bodybuilding, I just was so committed. And I had friends that tried to get me off course and throw M&Ms in my water, I'm like, because I counted everything and I'm like, no, nothing. My mindset was so focused on achieving my goal that nothing veered me off right or left. I just thought of this. You know those horses that have the blinders?
Yeah.
And then they can't see right or left because they need to stay focused on the trail or the race. That's how my mindset was when I was doing the bodybuilding. So I was so focused on the end result. And I think that's why I did so well. And I won my pro card and I competed professionally. And then I was able to go to Worlds. But I didn't want to diet another 3 weeks to go to Worlds because I'm like, give me a glass of wine and some pizza and a chocolate cake. I'm done counting macros. I'm done weighing everything.
And you achieved your dream.
Yes.
Up to a certain, where you wanted to get to.
Correct.
And,
yeah.
That's amazing. And henceforth, that's what makes you a dream builder too. Like, you've been there, you can help people achieve their dreams.
Correct.
Which is super awesome.
I have another thing to add to that because I was a personal trainer too for, since I was 20 years old and I'm turning 50 here in August. So I've been personal training and people would come to me like, I need to train for a marathon. Like in my younger years, I'm like, well, I know how to train you for it. I've never done one. So I signed up for a marathon, started training. So I know mentally what it would take to get past those mental obstacles during a marathon. Same with like bodybuilding. Like I needed to experience it so I can be able to train other people more effectively because I can't tell them to do something if I haven't done it. I can't tell them to eat a certain way and be healthier lifestyle if I'm not doing it. It's kind of
that makes sense.
So because there's always a mental block and days and times that you don't want to get out of bed and do it because motivation comes and goes. It's not about motivation. It's about, doing things even when you're not motivated to reach your goals. And it can be in fitness or business or relationships, anything. So it really applies to your whole life. So it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And all those little experiences, so my perception of a really good coach is the coach that can actually like paint the picture for you. They like you've experienced, which really helps, but they don't have to be like super good at it. They just have to be able to create the picture for you and help you emotionally coach you to get there, right? Like carry you to that dream.
Right.
And you kind of just even take it a step further because you've experienced I honestly believe a lot of things that you can achieve at, not that I'm going to go out and lift like 4,000 pounds over my head. That's like physically impossible, but you can get to a certain point just through mental psyche. You can maximize your potential at doing that. And it sounds like that's what you do to really help people build their dream, being a dream builder.
Right. I think most people have more in them that they're actually, what's the word, like able or wanting to put out.
Limiting beliefs.
Limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
It goes
like
back to the limiting beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's so easy to get limiting beliefs at times that you don't even, like we talked about, like your experience between 6 years. Those are the most influential times in your life. And somebody can just say something as simple as, and I think we talked about this, but as simple as going, if you've thought about that idea and it's going to make you $1 million, somebody else has already done it.
Right.
And that's what I was told when I was younger by my dad at times. And I don't think it was done maliciously to hurt me. It was done to protect me, like, don't get your feelings too down. Don't be hurt by it if somebody's already done it, right? But then it becomes a limiting belief in my own system, right? Like, why should I really, like, this is a good idea, but darn it, somebody else has probably already thought about it, right? And that's what I think a good coach can do. And that's kind of what you do with your business.
Yeah.
Is help people achieve their dreams.
Right. And it can be anything like, I work with their health, that part of their dreams, and really, like you said, paint a picture of where they want to be and what it will take to get there and help guide them. And sometimes be a cheerleader of, you can do it. You'll have this rough spot. Just get one more day. just one more day of this.
But sometimes you got to be the a-hole because
Yes.
the a-hole coach is sometimes the best coaches, actually, the ones that you hated the most, and realize, oh my God, but they really were doing it to make you better.
Right. I was told I was the nicest, meanest trainer because I was like, you're so mean, but you do it in such a nice way. Like, it was never like in a mean way, but it was such in a loving way to help them get to the next level and push them. Like, if it's in the gym, really assist them, like, you have more in you.
Right.
And I think we all need someone like that in our life that can be a cheerleader and say, you have more in you when you want to give up. In anything, you have more in you. Dig down a little deeper. Don't give up. You're created for so much more.
Yeah. Somebody that can be brutally honest, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't you wish you just had that other person that can say stuff that you wouldn't say to somebody and they would say, yeah, he said it, but you're thinking it.
Right.
I have one more picture to show you.
Okay.
And I believe this one
I
is
love that.
so adorable. Yeah, this is, for people that can't see this that's listening, this is her as like, I want to say about 2 years old.
No, I think that was like
9 months.
Between 9 months to a year. Like, I probably I wasn't walking yet.
Wow. And they put you on a horse.
They
That's
put me on
what
a
the kind of
horse.
trust that our parents had back for safety, right?
Right.
No seat belt, nothing.
Yeah, we didn't need that back then.
You can fall about 4 feet onto the ground, you'll be fine.
Totally fine.
But that was so cute. Was this in Minnesota somewhere? Or
I think that was down in Alabama.
down in Alabama. Cool.
Yeah, my grandparents had a horse ranch. And so I think that's where my love for horses came at such a young age. And I don't remember that picture being taken. I was so young, but it's one of my favorites. I was going through a bunch of photos that was at my grandpa's house. It ended up at my house. And I found this one. It was, all framed, and you can see there's probably a little mold on there or something, water. But yeah, it's such a cute picture. I think that's where my adventures begin. I don't know, my adventure
awesome.
Spirit.
That is true. That is true. So, I usually try and find a picture of in between there, and we couldn't really find one of you. But the question that I always love to ask, especially, getting to know you, like, and your psyche, right? Because it's all about mental thinking. If you could go back in time and maybe to a younger you, maybe at an age of 18 years old, what would your 18-year-old think of you today?
I think that she would be proud. I met actually my husband at the time when I was 18, 19. I got married young. So I started my family pretty young, got married at 20, had kids young. I'm at 23 and 27. So I don't know. At 18, I was just graduating high school. I wanted to,
You never knew you were going to be a naturopathic doctor for sure. At that point, you're like, that's what I'm going to be.
No, I've always had a passion for health because I was in sports growing up, and my dad was very holistic and growing his own garden. So I grew up with home cooked meals, and I'm one of 6 kids. So you have to be very creative in how to cook. You can't just eat out all the time. You have to make things from scratch. So I grew up, and then when I grew up in Israel, everything was fresh. We go to the market and buy fresh fruits and vegetables to have it for the next couple days. And you go to the market again. Everything was always fresh. So I grew up that way. Yeah. A more natural, way of healing things. We never went to the doctor. I think maybe because we couldn't afford it, with 6 kids, but we were always so healthy. Yeah, yeah. For some reason, when you're starting to tell me this, I'm picturing your dad as this like hippie. Flower child kind of from the 60s, right? And like has just... He was a photographer. Okay. So, and that's how I ended up in all of these like photos and newspapers and stuff because he used us kids in the newspaper because he was a photographer for the newspaper in Israel. So we were always like the models and
that's cool.
for different things.
That's awesome. So if you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self some advice, what would you give her?
I would say go for it. Go for your dreams and don't worry about other people's opinions because it's those other people's opinions, it doesn't matter. They're not going to pay your bills. They're not going to shape, they can shape who you are and your thinking, but really not think about what other people think and just go for it. Because I feel like that's a lot, going back to limiting beliefs. That can be the title for the limiting beliefs. Yeah. Keep on coming back to that. It shapes who we are, and don't worry about other people's opinions. And one of my coaches, my mentors always said, it's the OPO monster, other people's opinions. And it's really like a monster in our head. Yeah. It sets us it stops us in our tracks of what we want to do because we're so worried about what other people might think or say or, about you. Who cares? Who cares? Yeah. Just do you.
And it feels like you're a slave to your thoughts at that point.
Right.
You really are when you have limiting beliefs. But it's so hard to sometimes know that that's a limiting belief, right? So,
right.
And I think we need coaches and people to help us through that and really have an open mind to get through that.
Right.
No.
Just go for your dreams.
That's
what fantastic. I tell my kids.
That's great advice. That really is.
Like, do it. Yeah. Just do it messy. Figure it out as you go.
Yeah. Nothing's ever good or bad. It just is so you can move forward, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I do have a closing question for you. Who's someone you would love to hear or see on this podcast?
Well, one of my favorite podcast people is Ed Milet because he's so inspirational. And when I'm at the gym, I listen to podcasts or books. I don't listen to music. And he's one of my go-to people that I listen to because he gives such great advice for, bettering you and, moving forward in life in a positive way. And he's overcome so much in life that gives you hope.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've heard him speak. I had the pleasure of seeing him at a business conference down in Florida where he spoke, and he was really, really good.
He is.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. And before you go, I have a couple things for you. Let me see here. So first, as a thank you for coming on to the show, you are awesome.
Yes.
But the other thing, I know you are so into weightlifting, and of course your pictures show it. And that, I ended up finding this for you.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Yes.
Your business card, because
oh my gosh,
I actually made a plank for it so that you can put a card or your business cards on there.
That is awesome. Yes. That is the coolest thing. And then my trophy to go with my trophy walls.
Yes. It's not a huge trophy, but just a little thank you for coming on the show and just sharing your absolute cool story about who you are. I really can't thank you enough for being on the show. If you want to learn more about Becka, Dr. Becka Swanson, you can visit her at www.rootedenergetics.com. Again, that is www.rootedenergetics.com, or visit us at our Twin City Twin City Facebook page. As we roll out of here, I want to say thank you to Chris Hockey for the use of his song "Thanks," with no pun intended. This podcast is powered by Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric. Until the next show, you can't go wrong with Wyman Wong on Twin City Tales Podcast.
This song goes out to my family, to all the ones who died before me. I'm sure the family life made you do things you never wanted to, so I wrote